What's going on, guys? I don't usually make a video this early on a Saturday morning, but today at 9:15 a.m., EA released all the new features and updates coming to franchise mode NHL 24, so obviously, gotta talk about them with you guys. And real quick too, guys, wouldn't mind leaving a thumbs up in this video for us actually getting some franchise news. I'd really appreciate it. Go to the website here, guys. I'll have it linked in the description. You can check it out for yourself. So the first big piece of news is the fact that young players can actually now grow X Factors and old players can lose them. Obviously, before, young players could grow X Factors during the draft, but after they got drafted, that was it. Those were the X Factors they had. They can now actually add X Factors throughout all those growth years. So basically, after they turn 27 years old, their potential is no longer, a potential. It's now kind of locked in. Now, on the other side of that, players who are over 32 years old, so anyone that's 33 plus, will actually start to lose X Factors as they decline. So hopefully having less X Factors means old players aren't going to perform as good when they get into those later years. If they're not performing as good, they won't get those stupid, super high contracts that are really unrealistic. Again, I'm thinking this could be like a 3 birds, 1 stone situation. Fingers crossed at least. And so right here you guys can see it says X Factors are based on their individual attributes as well as their age, playstyle, and potential factoring in. Factoring in playstyle reduces the likelihood for some abilities to generate on players with certain playstyles. So basically a sniper is less likely to have like a shot blocking one than a defensive defenseman. However, as an example, two-way forwards can still get offensive abilities like puck on a string if it truly fits the player's attributes, which makes sense. I feel like a two-way forward is probably one of the few that could get essentially any X factor. So right here you actually have your first look at Gavin McKenna's headshot in NHL 24. Very cool to see the guy getting drafted to the Canucks. I assume, or at least I hope, first overall in 2026. So you can see they're actually at the draft right now. It shows Seattle's on the board there picking 4th overall. And right of the draft, McKenna has a couple X factors. No zone ability though, just 2 superstar abilities. But then 1 year later at 19, he's already got 4. Now, did he play that first rookie season in the NHL? Did he go back to junior in order to earn these? I would assume he played in the NHL rookie season because they haven't shown on the Canucks here, but it's hard to say. And then next year you can see after 2 years of the NHL, he actually gained that Elite Edges zone ability. So I definitely like this. Again, it makes, I think, more sense. Out of the draft, a young player having all those X factors, unless it was literally like Connor Bedard or Connor McDavid, didn't make a ton of sense. But then growing them as they get better makes perfect sense. Same with the older players losing them. So after that, guys, I would say that's kind of like the main new feature in NHL 24 franchise mode. Unfortunately, it seems like the rest of this is more kind of like a really good patch, I would say. Necessarily the new features, but I'm gonna let you guys be the judge. So first things here, franchise interface has been darkened to reflect the changes made across NHL 24.
Wow.
I don't know how this got added in. I feel like there was enough other stuff here. You could have avoided adding that line, as honestly I think it's a bit more embarrassing to have that there than not, so I had to share it with you guys. Coaches utilize the secondary position of players more when constructing lineups. I feel like that's something that should have already been in the game, but it is good to see that being implemented. This should really help the AI coaches making realistic lineups. Hopefully now you don't see like an 89 overall playing 4th line center opposed to just having him say 2nd line right wing if he's like a center / right wing. Obviously you'll have to wait until we actually get our hands on the game to see how much that helps. Behind that's another thing that should, help the AI coach constructing lineups. Coaches set up even strengthened power play lines based on coaching style, time of the season, and standings rank. So I think what this means is if it's post-trade deadline, you're in a playoff push, your high-rated players are going to get, all the power play time as they should. But if you're a team that's tanking, you're clearly not going to make it. You're actually going to be looking at those players with more potential to get more ice time. Hopefully they can grow, which I think is an awesome change. +4 line chemistry added to help coaches construct lines. I'm honestly not sure why they didn't have +4 line chemistry before. It was kind of weird. We had +1, +2, +3, +5. Now we have that +4. So good to see that added. Again, hopefully that just helps with AI constructing lines, making them more realistic. Coaches slotting the right players in power play roles better. Okay, so this is another one where I think sometimes with best line, you would see a guy as a distributor who doesn't even have the best passing that's in that power play lineup. Now hopefully they rely more on passing for the distributor, shooting stats for obviously the finisher. Shot frequency setting is now default to high. So this is kind of cool for me to see, as I always made my shot frequency high with the scoring settings medium because I felt like that was more realistic, and it shows EA feels the same. Having said that, simply changing a default setting is much of a feature at all. Like, it's a patch, and I'd say a low-end patch because it's literally just moving one thing to the side. Fix an issue where an unsigned prospect that gets traded to a CPU team sometimes doesn't get signed. Now, even though that's good news, my one issue is the fact that I often would see young players not getting signed that are actually drafted by that team. I think of my Detroit Red Wings, for instance. Often I would see like Soderblom not getting re-signed, Wallander, like these guys are decent prospects, and I'm sure the team is at the contract max, and that's why they're doing it. The issue is the AI for some reason can't prioritize like their good young players who have more trade value over like the older AHL players who are 32 years old, have literally no value, no reason to give them a contract. So I don't know if that's addressed. We'll keep reading, but if that's not, I think that's honestly a bigger issue than the traded one. Qualifying offer amount is now shown when offering a contract to an RFA. So that's really good news, because sometimes I would give a guy a qualifying offer not realizing it's a lot more money than I expected. CPU teams will now utilize buyouts. I'm not gonna lie, I didn't even realize CPU teams weren't buying out players before. I just always assumed that that was just something they were doing behind the scenes. So that's really good to see. I'm curious now if you'll see teams, buying out guys like, say, a Markout or Vlasic on the San Jose Sharks. It will be hard to tell, though, because you're gonna have to really be sharp to know, like, oh, that guy still had years left, and he's now in free agency, which means the team must have bought him out. Teams without a goalie will prioritize trying to sign a goalie at the start of free agency. So this is a big one. If a team has a single 65 overall goalie heading to free agency, they should be the #1 team calling up, those big name stars at the top, opposed to waiting till the end of August to get some 77, 78, and often they would actually go for, like, not the highest rated guy when they sign somebody for whatever reason. So that is good news as well. Again, a lot of these things are awesome changes. It's just, I think, these seem more like really good patch updates to me than, say, a feature set, which is a little bit disappointing, but I think, the #1 thing for me this year was to have smarter AI in terms of the coaches and the GM. So far, a lot of these changes should help that. How much it'll help, time will tell, but if they are, significantly smarter, I'm going to be happy. Now, this next one's actually a really big one in regards to what I just said. Tuning for stat-based trade value mods will also impact wild salary expectations when a player has a poor/good season. Okay, so like I said, smarter AI, if you have a guy that's making $1 million and he's currently putting up 30 points, a lot of times his trade value would spike, and you could trade him for like an 86 who's putting up a similar amount of points, 1-for-1, because he's making more money or whatever. Made no sense. That is good to see. Likewise, just because a player has one bad year, his value shouldn't completely tank. It should only lower a little bit. So this has the potential to be huge, huge, huge. Along with that too, it says it also impacts wild salary expectations. So if a guy has one good year, and say he was like an 82 making $2 million, he shouldn't then ask for $10 million or whatever. It should kind of be somewhere in the middle. Obviously, in real life, you do have, guys ask for a ton of money after one good year, but it's all, relative. We'll see if that does help it. It says this will help address scenarios where backup level free agent goaltenders don't get contracts and teams walk into the season with worse goalies than what's available, because those backups are asking for a ridiculous amount of money after having, a good performance as a backup, or maybe even just having one good year as a starter. We've also increased the creation limit on Xbox and PlayStation 5. I actually mentioned this in the presentation deep dive. If you guys check that out, 30 extra teams, 1,500 more skaters, which is absolutely ridiculous, and then 200 extra goalies. So again, I feel like, there are a lot of good things there. Now, next year we got patch 101 live now, so basically it'll be live when you get the game. X Factor, Evolve, Devolve Logic. So this basically says that older players can actually gain X Factor 2 if they're coming off a career season. So say you have like a 29-year-old who's an 85, but he just put up 100 points somehow, playing first line McDavid, he jumps up to like an 88. He could also gain X Factors, which I think makes sense. If they're, growing in rating after a huge year, it makes sense they could also get X Factors. I think X Factors being tied to overall, as well as super high potentials, is what makes the most sense. It's weird to see like a guy who's 75 with a bunch of X Factors, or a guy who's 95 with no X Factors. So this should help fix that. And like I just said, guys, it says as long as they have high enough overall and attributes that have become high enough to warrant gaining abilities. So if they're 90 overall and they have 99 passing with no X Factor, when they grow that summer, they're going to get tape to tape or third eye, something like that. Next year, guys, it says lefty/righty positions now show when selecting a player to add to a trade. I'm honestly not even sure what that means. I guess before it didn't show if they were both lefty and righty when adding them to a trade. That's something I didn't even notice. That's such a small thing. Again, some of these things really do seem like patch notes. After that, guys, it says progress report screen shows X Factors on the correct player. Again, that's definitely more of a patch thing. And I just realized I literally am reading the patch 101 notes, so that's why all this stuff is patch related. Fixture generated players being given the new generic helmet and bubble cages. I will say with that, hopefully it's fixed where an 18-year-old has a full head of gray hair. Apologies if that's the case for anybody. Hopefully just more realistic that way. Same with like, Steve Smith from Japan. It doesn't make a ton of sense. I would love for the AI-generated players' names to actually represent more where they're from. Fixed to allow the user to send players down to the minors when the team's over the maximum salary cap. That's really good news to see, because sometimes after trade deadline, you'd be stuck with guys who are just in the NHL, even though they're over the salary cap, and it doesn't let you send them down, which would obviously help you get under. It was definitely a weird bug. So it's good to see that being fixed. It probably should have been addressed in NHL 23 via a patch, but at least it'll be fixed for 24. Changes to the way we import minor, junior, elite league players in the mode for custom leagues. Honestly, guys, there's a ton of text here. Basically, all it says is players that aren't in the NHL aren't going to be in the custom league unless their NHL affiliate is. That's pretty much it. Planned post-launch improvements, adding a contract response for when a player accepts a qualifying offer compared to a normal contract offer. This is something I actually mentioned to them last year. It happened on my franchise modes. A guy accepted his offer. I thought I got him signed at like 1 year for $1 million, and then I looked, he actually was getting paid 2.2 because he accepted his qualifying offer, which was worth more, and I didn't realize. So that's fixed in both ways now. It shows how much your qualifying offer is going to be, and it shows whether or not they accept your qualifying offer or a regular one. Now next year, guys, it says they're adding the regulation win tiebreaker to standing spreadsheet, so I'm pretty sure the regulation win tiebreaker was already in the game. It just simply wasn't always shown. Sometimes you would have that tiebreaker, but for whatever reason, you'd be as like the number 2 team in the West, and the other team be number 1, I believe is what the change is there. Now you'll actually be shown as 1. And then finally, Conn Smythe winner presentation overlay will now show correct playoff stats. That is something I pointed out multiple times as well last year. Good to see that being fixed. So there you have it, guys. All of your features and patch notes, I guess, for the NHL 24 franchise mode. And as always, guys, let me know all your thoughts on the changes in the comment section below. Obviously, a light year for franchise, but hopefully that's because they're, so focused on adding connected franchise next year in NHL 25. Also, too, for you Be A Pro guys, there was nothing here about Be A Pro, so I'm not sure if that'll be in a future article or if Be A Pro guys aren't getting anything this year. Obviously, we'll have to wait and see.